like he needs some development on, how to be more enthusiastic or something, right? And do I overlook that or do I train him in that? So I think organizations need to, that's where I was saying earlier, the mutual trust comes in. The organizations need to take the time to develop Sorrel, to have him, to have him get polished up to go into that position versus going outside. So coming into having somebody sponsor him, and it's not just this, the sponsoring is one of the tools, but I talk about when I work with organizations that and individuals, you need a coach to help you develop, you need a mentor to help you navigate, and you need a sponsor to help you to advance. So if we actually set in place opportunities more internally to look and meet some of these expectations and passions of the people that we have inside, could we actually create a more diverse pipeline? Could we actually create a pipeline of leaders that have that knowledge, that intellectual knowledge of the organization versus they go somewhere else because we are not giving, because we're not looking at them as somebody that could, meet the expectations, but we're okay with bringing somebody in from the outside and then training them and enhancing them. So my thing is organizations need to build those relationships inside and hone in on those expectations in the workplace and not internally and not go outside. And one of those ways to do that is, sponsoring individuals from the inside, developing them from the inside, and helping them to get into that pipeline. If we look at demographically, and if we look at not demographically, but generationally, I mean, baby boomers are going to be retiring soon. And maybe now with this happening, some of them may be like, hey, I give up. I don't want to be doing stuff remote. I just want to go relax. Then, we're going to be at a critical point where do we have leaders to put into positions of leadership that we need? And then the second question is, what kind of leaders do we have in there? Are they diverse? Is it the same old cookie cutter statistics that I just shared with you? That's a little bit about what I'm committed to in organizations, is to helping them provide resources to really create an environment of trust and credibility and of mutual responsibility, and building relationships to build their pipeline, so that we could have organizations that have diverse pipelines, and those individuals have come up through the rank, have intellectual knowledge of the organization, as well as respect for the relationships that they've built over time.
That is awesome. Dr. Malik, tell me about this. As either a sole proprietor or small business with maybe fewer than 50 employees, I don't have a huge pipeline, yet I can hear that the notion of diversity in leadership and talent and in all, and also the notion of sponsoring and mentoring people in an organization could also matter to a small business. How does one translate what you're speaking about to application in environments such as a sole proprietorship or small business? Oh, how does diversity matter there? And what is your research pointing to?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I work with a wide range of organizations, and my research obviously is in larger organizations. But if I had a small, LLC sole proprietorship, you still, I mean, right now, if something were to happen, Sorrel, in your small business, is there outside of you and your wife, would there be, who's the next in line to take over? Are they trained? Do you trust them? Do they have credibility? Would you even say that that person is the person that I want to point to go into next? So when we're talking about sponsorship, we really could go over the gamut. I mean, as a professor, I sponsor students all the time. Sometimes they work even for my clients, or sometimes, I advocate for them to have a job. And so, or to get selected for a job, not have a job, but, but get selected for a job because they have proven to me that they're trustworthy, they have credibility, that, I have, I have 6 P's of how to be sponsorable. And, one of those is performance, and, that they can perform, that they position themselves in a way that I'm okay with saying, this is somebody that I would advocate for it or sponsor. So I think even in small businesses, I think it's needed that we look at the bigger picture to make sure that, because diversity isn't just because you have a female and you have a person, you have an African American, then you have a South Asian. Diversity is really diversity of thought as well. So if you're talking about being innovative, if we're talking about really taking your organization to the next level, do you want groupthink? Or do you want people to just satisfy you just because you're the CEO? Or do you want people that bring in different levels of thought, different points of view, etc.? So to me, even as a small business owner, it is important that we're looking at what tomorrow brings, and that are we training those next leaders to take those positions? Because the other thing we'll find out is young people of today aren't taking over their parents' businesses as well. They want to go do their own thing, etc.
Yeah. So the risk is, unless I really don't mind that after I'm gone or after I retire, my business just fades away. It's incumbent upon me as a leader in business to create a pipeline of leaders who could actually carry the business forward. So I get that.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Giovanni.
yeah, Giovanni.
Yeah, Dr. Malik, thank you for being here. And, as you are creating the conversation, I have my hands in two different worlds, right? In the world in which I help the clients, which have a rather large organization, where this conversation applies in some degree immediately, right? And then there is the clients, like Sorel was saying, where they're sole proprietorship and maybe they're just themselves or just a team of 2 or 3 or 4, right? And so, but what I wanted to ask you, I wanted to get your own spin on this. When I go into an organization, common sense, in some degree, there is common sense about allowing a larger part of the population to be part of the organization, allowing that this different thinking, those people who think differently to be part of it, right? There's this I know that, but then there is this hidden threads, this hidden social threads that are part of the conversation, but no one talks about it. And I was wondering, how do you approach it when you're doing your consulting or when you're preparing people so that they can actually have this new freedom, they can feel like safe to bring people from different cultures, because when you said, do you want just people to follow your thinking, or you want people to have diverse thinking? Someone would say, no, I don't want people to just do what I say, but it's not true, because there's some hidden threat around that. So how do you deal with it, or how do you get people to get past that initial survival thing?
Mm-hmm. Well, especially as a small business, I mean, we are in survival, right? Like we're wanting to, make sure that we're getting, we're bringing food to the table. I mean, this whole pandemic has really, been a wake-up call for small businesses, large businesses. I won't get into my views about large businesses being bailed out, but that's a conversation for a different day. But I think as a small business owner, we have to think outside of the box. And you'd be surprised how many people do want group thinking and satisficing, and they want people. Okay, so why is there not diversity at the top? Is because of, if you think about it, is group thinking, it is satisficing, because you have the people on top bring their friends up, and they bring their friends up from where? People who think like them.
Right.
And so hence you have, leadership where there is not a lot of diversity. And if I can, just be blunt and say it, is that leadership, it consists of white men who then have brought in their friends, who then have brought in their friends. So kind of like the group thinking. So that's on a larger scale, but I think on a smaller scale, we have to look at what's your vision for tomorrow and where do you want your organization to be? And then from there, backing up, like, who am I willing to give my trust to and give that mutual credibility and respect to actually help thrive in my environment, so that I can either expand and scale. In order to scale, you will need to expand your people. You will need to expand your your leadership and who you trust. So I'm not sure if that's answering your
Well, almost, because it's not just like at the top there's white men. It's not just that, because I help organizations from people from all walks of life, and at the top is basically what you were pointing to, the friends of that person. And sometimes it's a white person, sometimes it's a Black person, sometimes a Hispanic person, sometimes an Asian person, right? And but how do you help them to ease up that fear of bringing somebody new? How do you do that? And maybe it's a different conversation, maybe not, but I just want to.
Yeah, I mean, I think leaders really actually need to think outside of the box, that they can't just be so focused on either what they know or what they hear. And that in order to be innovative, you have to create relationships outside of what you know. We build relationships sometimes outside of comfort, outside of survival. Of course, I want to bring in somebody that I know that looks like, well, first of all, it looks like me. Let's look at all the psychological data and all the psychological research. We bring in people that look like us. We connect with people. I'm a UGA grad. You meet somebody and they're like a UGA grad, instant connection, right? And so we have those connections like that. And I think as small business owners and young CEOs that, we got to step outside the box, not sit inside of scarcity, but actually, be inside of abundance. And one of the things is, like, I'm not saying all this stuff is going to happen like tomorrow. But over time, I think, as we create these conversations, that, more and more organizations are going to realize that, hey, you know what? Let me not look at somebody that may look like me. Let me intentionally go look at somebody that doesn't look like me and see what they have to provide. But as small business owners, a lot of times we're in survival. And I think we go with what's comfortable. We go with what we know.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for answering that. So I got the world that you're opening up for my question. So thank you. Anyone has a question? Would you like to raise your hand or go ahead and speak?
As you're thinking about your question, I want to raise this point, right? When we think of diversity, whether it's diversity in thinking, ethnic diversity, gender diversity, as a small business owner, it's almost as if we think we're exempt. Like the notion of diversity is almost never top of mind. So the question that comes to mind is, for you in the studio audience, I'd love for you to open up now and start to dig into this. Where are you not even thinking about diversity, the diversity of thought, the diversity of gender? And where are you thinking as a small business owner, you're exempt and you're really missing the boat on creating a team and an organization or an environment that can carry you into the future? So who'd like to say, and what are you thinking? What are you seeing? Mary, do you want to speak?
Yes, I would
Mary,
love to share. Yes, I would love to say this is absolutely great. And I'm going to speak from the place of family. I hear in what Robina has shared this morning, actually building diversity right where you are, and also the mentorship, the sponsorship, the like building that mutual responsibility into your business, if it's a business, if it's a family, wherever you are, to actually be open to that, that's the way it can work. And when you're investing, and I hear the word investment in the background, when you're investing in people, you're going to see that people bring so much to your life. I have 6 children and they're so diverse, it's just like unimaginable. And all of them grew up in a family where diversity was just who we were. And each one has their gifts and each one brings those to the table. And you capitalize on those gifts as a owner or as a mom, as a dad, whatever. And this was wonderful. And just the talent development, all of that is available just right in your own family, even, and taking it onto your business, whatever that is. So thank you for all of this. Looking to the future, not look at scarcity, but look at abundance, and diversity just is there. It's just present. So thank you.
Yeah, and Mary Pat, one of the things we have to realize is that, is systems. We got to do systems thinking. Organizations are systems. Families
Right.
are systems. Groups are systems. So inside
Right.
the systems, what you said is beautiful. Like, this isn't something you just kind of keep in for just this part. This is something wherever there's people and it's an entity, you can create that. You said family,
Right.
I said classroom, somebody else says
Mhm.
small businesses, somebody else says big businesses. So
Yeah, I think investment, that's why investment was at the back. Investment, your willingness to invest in another individual for them to actually blossom and grow into everything that's possible for them. And that openness, there's diversity right there, right there. Once you say, be a plumber if that's what you want to be, or be a doctor if that's what you want to be, that kind of thing. But do whatever you do it well, and train yourself as well as have people with you that are going that route. So it's just, yeah, it's awesome. I love it.
yeah,
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Mary Pat.
and on an individual.
Rose, oh, excuse me, Dr. Rubino. Rose Hampton has her hand up, and we've got a few minutes left. I want to make sure that she gets her question in. Go ahead, Rose. Rose, you're on mute.
Hear you.
Sorry about that. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you very much for the mindfulness of the conversation this morning, what there is to keep in mind. I wanted to see if I could ask you to flip the script a little bit and maybe point to have to be, or how do I show up to be someone that the business leader wants to mentor and develop?
And that's perfect, Rose. That's what I was actually, I was trying to say before Sorrel interrupted me.
Sorry for interrupting you, Dr. Malek.
Sorrel, you're so rude. You're just
Really. Obviously, you need to be mentored and developed. No, so Rose, that's a beautiful question, and see, that's for me. That's where the mutual responsibility comes from. Just because I've been somewhere or in an organization for 10 years doesn't necessarily mean that I automatically get into be promoted, right? So what there is to do is, I have my 6 P's of sponsorship that I've been working on that haven't gone public yet. I won't share all of them, but for one is performance. If you're not showing up and performing, honoring your word, doing what you said you're going to do, or just even performing in your position on a technical level, like, are you doing the sales that you said you were going to do? Are you handling the business that you said you're going to handle? So, with your performance comes credibility and trust. So the bottom line of these relationships is credibility and trust. And so how do you build that? You build that through performance. You build that through, personal character. Are you a person as as most of us probably have been trained in, like, who has integrity, who honors their word, what can I rely on you for as a character? Do you show up? So all of those things are important for us to create that credibility, trust, to have a mutual relationship where I can trust you. If I say to somebody, hey, I want you to look at Rose for a position, they trust me enough to know that when I say X, that Y is going to happen. So of course they're going to look at you because they trust me, because I have positioned myself in a way, which is another one of the P's, is, position myself in a way that people will look at what I say and whoever I say. So if I say Rose, they're going to say, okay, because we have that trust. And then on the other side of it is, I'm going to say Rose because Rose has demonstrated to me trust and credibility through the 6 P's, which one of those, 2 of those, as I mentioned earlier, is positioning as well as performance.
Thank you. We have another question.
Did that answer your question, Rose?
Yeah, it did. The only other thing I wanted to say is you also pointed to something else, and that's building the trust amongst your existing staff in the organization so that when you point to,
Yep.
they trust you. So I love the putting that piece in as well.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm very vain. I'm not going to put my name behind somebody if I don't feel like that they're going to make me look good. I'm going to be honest. All of us are like that as human beings. We're not going to put our name behind somebody. I'm just honest about it because I'm vain. I mean, I'm so humble. But for those of you that know me, that's, I'm joking there. But yeah, no, we all look, whether we do it consciously or subconsciously.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Dr. Rubina Malik, thank you so much for being at the Daily Huddle. Mark, Adriana, thank you for raising your hand. We're up, we're at the top of the half hour. So this is usually when we end the conversation. Sorel, anything that you want to add?
No, not at this time. And we usually reserve the last word for our expert guests. So Dr. Rubina Malik, your last words.
My last words would be for organizations is to, make sure that you're creating opportunities and developing your talent inside, that you have, we all have hidden gems. Create opportunities for sponsorship, for mentorship, develop your people with coaching, and you will find so much more gems in your own organization. You don't have to go out. And then for the individuals, set yourself up to be sponsorable, to be mentored, that people are knocking down on your doors to say, I want to be her mentor. I want to be his sponsor. And it's just a natural progression. So I think there's a lot of talent out there, and sometimes we just need to, polish them up to have that diamond be shining.
Awesome, awesome. Dr. Malik, it was awesome having you on the Daily Huddle.
It's my pleasure.
Kelly Cape, welcome. And to
Hi,
each
everybody.
of you,
Thanks for having me.
to each of you who tune in weekly, daily, thank you for making the Daily Huddle what it is. And to you, Giovanni, thank you for staying the course and keeping the integrity of the context that the Daily Huddle is for life. And Dr. Rubina Malik, thank you for being our expert guest today.
It's my pleasure.
Daily Huddle.
Yeah. And I'm willing to stay after you guys stop, Mark and whoever had a question, to answer their question.
Oh, yeah. Perfect.
Awesome.
Thank you.